Oh, hey, Connor, welcome back.
Welcome back. This Week in AI.
This Week in AI. May would not let us roll and collide into each other again as much as I enjoy that, playing bumper cars, so we just have a back-to-back intro. We're going to count down the top stories, with the last story being our top story, the most groundbreaking story for small businesses. Let's start with the White House kind of frontier model. You were telling me about that.
Yeah, the White House has this voluntary 30-day pause on any updated new model, new frontier model coming out, because they want to review it for cybersecurity, kind of the Fable 5 incident, the Mythos class model that can hack and be cybersecurity issues. So they're saying, hey, just take a little pause, let us do a review of it before it goes to the public. It's not very voluntary, as you don't want to be in the government's bad graces.
Right.
So it's kind of a mandatory 30-day,
Yeah, I think it's an really interesting evolving situation where the government cracked down on Mythos, like you cannot release this. And now they're dialing it back a little bit, acknowledging that these models can be dangerous and pose risk for businesses, for the country, at the level of national security, and are saying voluntarily, hey, let us take a look at this first before you release it. But you're right, there is threat of what they did to Anthropic is kind of lurking behind that suggestion.
Yes.
So we think most companies will kind of go through the process, but let's see what happens. Maybe someone is like, no, thank you. Really interesting story to watch as it develops. Because
Google finally making the list.
Yeah, that's right. Now Google is like, okay,
Anthropic
what about us?
and OpenAI have been, hey, pause, you guys are a little too smart. Google is like, hey guys, we're really smart too.
Yes.
Why can't you block our model from getting released?
Block us too.
So they went ahead and they made Gemini 3.5 Flash cyber.
Okay.
I think targeting to get on that list.
Okay.
Because, it is a cybersecurity issue.
These Flash models are interesting. Like, what do they mean by Flash?
So, like, most frontier models are going to have kind of three flavors, right? They have the fast and cheap one. So that's Flash from Gemini, that's Haiku from Claude, that's, Mini from ChatGPT. You've got the normal standard one, which is just GPT 5.6, Anthropic's Sonnet model, and then the Gemini 3.5. And then there's this top model, like Sol from OpenAI,
Fable.
Opus and Fable from Anthropic, and the Pro Gemini from Google. So that Haiku and Flash is going to be in the really fast, cheap, and a little bit less intelligent side of it.
That's a really smart space for Google to go after, because I think it's open. I don't think anyone has necessarily won that kind of like...
and I think Google's winning if you look at like OpenRouter, which kind of counts tokens.
Yeah.
Gemini has like one of the highest token usage of any of the companies.
I see.
They're not the top company by intelligence, but they're kind of competing on a different level. They're competing on price.
Yes.
So you can get a Gemini model to maybe do the trick for $1 per million input tokens versus like Anthropic's $5 or $10 per million. You're probably going to go with the Google one unless you really need that top intelligence.
Right. I think that strategy is really smart. Another thing I always ask you about, and sometimes you don't even know what to say, but this week you do. What's up with China?
Yeah, China. China has been cracking down on that lead we have, and they've been the open source, open model community, which is kind of contrary to their typical.
Yes.
And I think it's just a way to try and disrupt the market that we have.
Right, but they also are working with a lot of constraints, so they have to kind of be open source because they don't have access to the same compute that we have in the West.
So Kimi K3.
Okay, who's that?
The largest open source model by like a factor of 3.
Okay.
And it's almost 3 trillion parameters, which if you don't know means you need an entire like rack of data center GPUs just to turn it on. So it's not something you're running at home, but it does show that the open source kind of free weights model category of AI is sort of growing, and it's really caught up. It's really neck and neck with Fable and GPT 5.6 on a lot of these coding and intelligent benchmarks. So it's something to definitely watch for as this open versus closed AI is kind of heating up this battle.
Awesome. Yeah, it's super interesting. Another interesting space to look at are these open source models and folks looking for a free solution.
Yeah, and Kimi actually had to shut off their subscriptions because they said, hey, we don't have any more GPUs. We sold as much as we can. People are using this. So they had to kind of turn off the pipe.
It's so unpredictable. You cannot tell week to week what's going to happen. And what's our top story?
Top story is going to be OpenAI's model escaping.
Yes.
Which everyone loves a good escape story.
Yes,
with AI.
Jailbreak.
Yeah. And in this case, it was a specific model or a combination of models from OpenAI 5.6 Sol, and then a pre-release model for that was really good at math, they say. And basically, those two models were working on some reduced restrictions so that they gave it more freedom.
Two models working together.
Yes,
Yeah.
they're really trying to make Skynet.
Yeah.
They gave it more freedom, less guardrails, and they put it in this kind of really secure environment. And they said, hey, we're going to have you try and beat this benchmark and this, coding cyber benchmark. And it found that really to do the best it needed to get out of this box, to then go and get escalated packages and privileges to then beat this benchmark as best as it could.
So it got out of the sandbox.
Yeah.
And then it did, that was it?
It used some zero-day exploit, which is basically an unknown exploit. It went and found it. It got escalated privileges in a cycle of actions on its own machine, jumped to another OpenAI machine, which may have gone to a third one, which then had access to the internet.
Okay.
And then when it got out, it decided, I'm going to go and compromise Hugging Face because it wanted to.
Yes.
It was not directed, not part of the script, not part of the test. And it decided to go and attack Hugging Face as a cyber exploit.
Yeah.
And it's unprecedented that this would happen, and that we're going to give the, kind of the models unrestricted access, and it could still get out, even though we knew it would probably try and get out. We added guardrails and tried to stop it.
Yeah, this story is being met with some skepticism, rightly, because people say, if this indeed happened, Christian just was saying to me earlier, if this happened, why is OpenAI letting us know? They could have just kept this quiet and made a deal with Hugging Face to kind of cover it up. It's a little bit of a humble brag about look what our model could
definitely.
do.
Yeah.
In competition with kind of Mythos and Mythos's mythological hacks. The thing I think for small businesses, people who are watching our show, what concerns should they have for their business, their network?
Yeah.
Is OpenAI going to jump inside? Is a hacker going to use an LLM to break into your network, steal your data? What are the risks there?
A lot of the AI tools have heavy guardrails around doing these things. And so we're still kind of a bit away from that, where an AI tool is going to be used in that way, only because the open source models that people can run on their own machines is going to be very expensive, So to do something that would have that level of intelligence is coming for sure. I would say definitely something to keep an eye on as these open source models do get faster and can run on cheaper hardware. Then you kind of have the means, the recipe to somebody that has kind of that intent to then execute.
Right. And I think the other thing, just basic network security, network defense. Think about your open ports on your firewall. Think about any legacy apps you may have on your network that are open to the firewall. These are the things that could theoretically be uncovered using AI. And so those are the things you should really think about. Open ports, legacy apps.
Yeah, I think one of the big things, this trending conversations we've had around customers in the last probably 2 weeks have been, hey, I've built this thing, right? People get access to Claude Code, they get access to Gemini and OpenAI Codex, and they say, hey, I had it go and make a thing. I want to use this thing, for my company now. And pretty quickly, we've seen that these applications and these things they're building would be pretty unsecure. So just using some AI agent to code something does not immediately mean that the AI agent knew it really needed to make a very hardened and secured application or site.
Yeah.
It's something that really takes an intentional level of review and work to make something secure and make something that's production ready. So we do have a upcoming Lunch and Learn next Friday.
July 31st.
And one of our breakout courses is going to be on Claude Code and Claude Design. So be sure to come to that, because that's going to be one of the main points of conversation for the people wanting to build their own applications, them deployment ready, how to make them production ready, so that you're not kind of caught with my database is not a real database, or we have open security flaw in this thing we built because we just kind of used an agent and make it.
Right on. Excellent endpoint. Thanks everyone
Thanks,
for
everybody.
watching.
Have a good week.
See you next week.